Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another Well Workplaces podcast. I'm Tom Bosna, the host, and today I'm joined by Dr. Natalie Flatt. How are you, Nat?
Afternoon, Tom. I'm okay. Thinking happy thoughts. No, busy morning. Exhausted, but it's only Tuesday, but it's still a long way to get through the week. But pretty positive.
You're here. I love it.
Yeah.
Tuesday's a new Monday, I heard as well. So it's kind of like the day that everyone gets their shit together and starts thinking, all right, I really need to get cracking here. This morning, we've just done our updated strategy to the team at Pinnacle Health Group. So that was kind of nice to get that done this morning. But yeah, it was all, I guess, on the topic of being positive and all that kind of thing. There's this whole good vibes only movement that we talked about, or we've touched on sort of in between the last recording, and I thought it'd be a great topic to talk about, which is the whole concept of I guess it's called toxic positivity, and I guess having been a very casual Instagram user now on and off for a number of years, it doesn't take much to see that particular hashtag good vibes only really get a good run. And I think it's that whole idea of people really that constant pursuit of happiness and perfection that we can kind of get ourselves in a bit of a trap of that I see anyway. So you're really interested to talk about just that whole topic of toxic positivity, because I've got a feeling that as we talk about this today, that I might be one of those toxic people that is always trying to be optimistic and like trying to spin a positive out of everything. So how about we start with toxic positivity and what do you think it is, Nat, and kind of what's your experience with it?
Oh, look, Tom, you're really right. Like if you look at the likes of social media, which we really saturated ourselves over, especially over the last couple of years, and the way it's perceived is that it's that perfect image, it's that perfect shot, it's always people happy, it's always people smiling, and that does impact our own level of, oh, should I be so positive all the time, or should I? What's wrong with me? Why aren't I positive like that all the time? So it can really lead to this false sense of self-imagery as well, and it can lead for people to go and to use those kind of slogans. Just think happy thoughts all the time, or that because that's what they must do, and don't worry, be happy, and always look on the bright side, and at least you've got A, B, C, D, or it could be worse, or as you said before, that good vibes only kind of style of statement that we have all those amazing mantras over that time. And from a positive psychology setting, the aim was, I always remember, what's those the cat with the holding the thing, like hang in there, like that. That's probably really where I found that those memes kind of started. That we can still hang in there. We've still got it. If we think positive thoughts, then all this amazing things going to happen to us. And that law of attraction style, and it has its merit. All right, like not saying that it doesn't have its merit, but when it becomes so toxic, like it's like too much of a good thing can actually be bad. That also applies for that positivity piece as well, and that's what then leads into that toxic positivity, where we want to maintain that positive mindset and exude only positive emotions and thoughts all the time, particularly when things are really difficult, and because we believe, or we've probably even learnt and seen that perception is that's how we're going to get ourselves out of a situation, or because we think positive thoughts, that that whole law of attraction, or that secret thing is going to come our way. The universe is going to hear us. But what ends up happening is that research is now showing that over time, and if we keep ourselves within this incredibly positive and upbeat mindset, it actually leads to higher levels of negative affect and lower levels of positive affect. It leads to poorer social adjustment, and it also then decreases our well-being, and that's because that's been that link to the suppression of the rest of the emotions that is just part of normal human experience. I mentioned to you last week, just to watch with Willow, Perfect Time. is that amazing Pixar show Inside Out. So hopefully people who are listening now have watched this, and it's a great one for the kids. It's a great one for adolescents, and it's really a great one just even for adults, which shows the human emotions and how important each character is in the develop or in normal. In this instance, it was tween to adolescent development, and the trials and tribulations that come the way, and when you suppress something, that it can lead to other areas that intend to blow up in these little islands that you see if everyone's seen the Pixar show. So super cute, but very great message there. It can be really harmful because when we are also insincere to ourselves, and we force these thoughts upon us, it basically demystifies or delegitimizes those feelings of the anxiety and the fear and also hardship. And when you do have these feelings kind of lifted up to you, it gives you that internalized core belief that you're the one that's inadequate. You're the one that's weak. You're the one that's defective. And, I've worked with clients before that says, I'm having these emotions and these feelings and these thoughts. What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. That's part of the human experience. But what we don't want to happen is this level of judgment, which then can be linked to our secondary emotions such as shame, and that can be very intense and incredibly maladaptive to some individuals.
Yeah, wow. That's a very comprehensive way of explaining toxic positivity. I think it makes sense as well if I'm just kind of going back to that really basic example of that social media sort of thing where you're sitting at night time and you're scrolling and you're seeing everyone having a great old time, or whatever. It's kind of that fear of missing out as well, maybe, and also thinking, well, my life isn't as good as that, and I guess that's kind of where it kind of lands, where you're not acknowledging potentially all the feelings that you might have if you are someone that's kind of always like, oh, it's all good, is a statement that I would have used a lot, and I still use, if I'm being honest today. When you're talking with people and it's like, oh, it's all good, like it's basically they're not listening potentially to the other person. And I'm kind of thinking then that at the moment, and especially with maybe the last couple of years, there's been people that have seemingly coped better maybe than others, or have been able to ride the wave of all the changes and things like that. But there's probably some that are also kind of in denial, in that they've kept their positive mindset going, or at least externally going, and that's kind of got them through it. So it obviously plays out in personal and professional relationships in different ways. What do you like? How does it really play out in maybe personal relationships? Do you think is it really just that there's one person that's presenting this really positive vibe sort of thing, and then the other person's maybe feeling worse as a result? Is that what you see?
It all comes down to social comparison. Like, we're social beings, aren't we? So we've clearly got this idea from someone else, and the media yet again in this time was, all the people that were coming out, like starting a side hustle and, learning to bake the best bread, learning a new language, learning, to be the best chef, learning to, revamp themselves, with this, with exercise and with whatever they want to like. So there was all this stuff, which was great as a distraction. And some people took it very seriously. But others, and that may have come at a good time for them. Sometimes some people got revelations. So not dismissing the people that it did work for, and not placing them in that toxic positivity circle. But that's not everyone. And some people, we all know that we've got elevated levels of resilience. We all can learn differently. Some things are going to work better for other people. Some people have, again, had these epiphanies where life is simpler, and because life is simpler, they actually are genuinely happier. So we're not talking about those individuals. We're talking about the individuals there where they felt like all they were doing was just chasing this kind of the sunlight and trying to get to that horizon there. And that was where the pressure has really been built up for them. Now, that could be pressure to again, yes, maintain this amazing persona, that I can do all this stuff, and that can be, and if I put myself in this mindset, I can do it, rather than actually asking themselves, how can I do it? So having that more interrogative self-talk rather than that positive declarative self-talk, like, I can do it, this is going to be great, I am this, I am that. That's fine, but we don't actually know how we're going to reach that. So that's the first thing. But also with work, like we can never dismiss the fact that, some people were able just to really get used to that huge change and that huge adjustment. And a lot of companies are saying, no, okay, well, we'll do this and we're not going to skip a beat, and we're going to keep on going and we're going to be productive. And it's kind of like a coach, keep going, keep going. I was at my son's athletics, on the weekend, and their first trial, and I was like, just look ahead, just keep on going, just look ahead, you'll get there. Don't look at anyone else, just look at you, just focus, and it was like, we just didn't want him to stop, but, it didn't matter that he couldn't breathe, just keep going.
Just run fast, mate. Yeah.
It's kind of similar to what we found ourselves in. Just keep going. The light's at the end of the tunnel. We're almost there. We're past the curve. We're out of this thing. We've just got to go another couple of weeks. Just stay on the, what did Dan Andrews always keep, just stay online. I can't even remember now. And, I think that pressure that people took, and they got that mindset because they were just continually bombarded with that same positive statements. So they've kept those to go, just keep going, a little bit like that Dora, just keep swimming. And when they have these other facets of emotion, that's the normal experience, that's when they start to feel inadequate and ashamed, and that, that they could be simply trying to get through the day without having a panic attack or, a crying fit or spell. So that's where it can be really hard. It also can be really difficult that those people that I talked about at the start were able to, to pivot, dare I say, and to have that resilience and to change their lifestyle. And when someone, it could even be their own friend, colleague, relative, partner, whoever, is saying, I'm trying to keep up with you, or how do you do that? And then when they come and they do say something that is more traumatizing, more negative, we see people that will go, well, at least you've got this, and just stay focused. You'll get back on your feet in no time, or there'll be something positive around the corner for you. It dismisses what they're then feeling like. So they can't. Again, that emotion that they've felt has actually been invalidated, and that gives the message to them that, oh, I shouldn't be thinking like this. So they then suppress it even more. So it becomes a bit of a cycle there, and it can become, lead to some really maladaptive behaviour traits and yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, in a workplace setting, it's probably like, and especially through the last year or so, the relationship with your direct manager or your leader, perhaps, is those conversations really need to be happening with the leader, having the EQ to be able to have a conversation about how someone's going and not brush it off with it's all good or whatever. So their actual ability is, or their skill level is actually more in the listening and the summarizing and the reading the cues, which is quite subtle and very, I know it's been very hard for a lot of managers, because it's all remote. Like, how do you know how someone's going, and how do you have a good combo through a video call or via the phone and really kind of figure out those little cues? There's a few phrases up on the screen now, if you are watching this, where we've kind of got, there's it's all good. There's which, I definitely say that one. Good vibes only. I genuinely don't say that ever until I wrote up the thing for this. So I'm glad I don't as well, because I hate that saying. Looking on the bright side, like it's really natural. If I'm being honest, for me, if something really shit has happened, I immediately go, what can I learn from this? And also, how can I spin this into a positive, maybe selfishly, to make myself instantly feel a bit better? But in a work environment, no doubt the response from your manager or leader is really, really important. Nat, with some of these that we've got up on the screen, maybe from a workplace perspective, what do you think are the ones that kind of are regularly playing out in the workplace or in the hybrid workplace?
Look, I think all these can come up in conversation, like these toxic phrases, and we don't mean it. Okay, so let's just start that. It is well intentioned. Like, we do want, what we want to do is just make someone feel better, and it's a trait that we just don't inherently want people to feel sad, and they believe that being happy is being productive, and therefore if we make someone happy, then therefore they're going to be productive, and we know that isn't always the case as well. So I think this is just a really good little signpost that you could potentially put up on your wellness intranet or somewhere that people can see. And we do a lot of work around that whole EQ piece and identifying how people are feeling, even through that one adjective started in a stand-up meeting just at the start of each week, just to really gauge how people's weeks are, or how they've been going, or how they started. And this allows people just not only to express how they're feeling, so really being honest with themselves, but showing that authentic piece as a leader and as a team, that when someone kind of is struggling, to say, like, I know it's really hard right now, guys. I know, we're still trying to make this work. I'd love that, if you can, I appreciate, you sharing this with me, but how else can we actually make this easier? So even, it was interesting, you said before, Tom, that you want to shift yourself back into the positive area, but you're actually still being quite declarative with yourself, because you're asking the word how. And that's a really important piece on trying to get back on track. And we would like to see that in workplaces, that we don't want to dwell in negativity. We certainly want to acknowledge it, and we want to feel the feels, but we also want to have that solution-focused piece on how we can kind of recalibrate ourselves back to homeostasis, to make ourselves, feel more regulated, and better, to open up, I suppose, that cognitive processing at the same time. So it is a bit of a fine balance, and I know that that there's a lot of colleagues and leaders that really struggle about that, but it is about that in that self-compassion piece. So there is a lot of work around the self-compassion theory, and where it says that that positive self-statements may contradict that individual self view, causing the individual to reject the statement, or hold on to their original preconception of themselves. So they can be positive for some people, but they can be really detrimental for others. But like, it's the easiest way to start it is not only for leaders to to lead by example, or to also practice this at home. It's like, when I start to feel really down or feel really stressed, what do? Do I actually just stop, even for that moment, and say, you know what, I'm going to reflect, for 1 minute here. Oh, okay, that meeting was quite stressful, or that was really overwhelming. Okay, so what am I going to do now? How can I feel like I can recalibrate? Can I go get a cup of tea? Can I go walk around the block? How can I make myself, feel back to that level where I'm feeling, more productive, and I feel like I've processed that and worked through that. So it's important to acknowledge it, but it's also important not to dwell in it, if that makes sense. And it's a great piece to teach, your colleagues, and it's also really good from a personal development stage, that even leaders do try practice this, and we can all practice this at home. And it just takes that 1 minute of reflection to say, how am I feeling right now? I kind of like those self-check-ins. And that's going to be able just to increase your EQ, to be able to manage that toxic positivity, and then also just to be able to recognise and assist others, listening and validating them, and providing those solution-focused strategies. And I always say, if it all becomes too much, it's really interesting that when a lot of us have just they've gone through that automatic area of procrastination, we turn to our phone. And when we turn to our phone to procrastinate, what do? We pick up social media. And if we're not in the good mindset and we are looking at that kind of stuff, that's actually not going to be really helpful for us right now. So it's also about what's helping us by way of our behaviour. And if it all becomes too much, either take a break, take it off your phone, and also then check in to say, well, now actually I feel better, because I'm not comparing myself to someone across the globe that I don't even know, who is, apparently amazing things. Well, that's only a 1% snapshot of their life. We all know that. It's all a lie.
Yeah, exactly.
The brain and imagery can always play tricks on us. So if that's where your sensitivity lies, get off it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a really good couple of months. I think it was a year ago, and I just deleted all my like normal social media, just as a way of. I don't think I was comparing myself, but it was more just that I was using it as a almost like a pacifier. At night time, we also had one of my son was a lot younger and not sleeping, so I was just sort of not getting sleep, then scrolling and procrastinating on social media, and it got to a point where I was like, this isn't working for me, so I'm just going to delete everything, and just had one of the best months in terms of like mental clarity and that kind of thing. But I think with this toxic positivity kind of concept, I think for leaders, like we've talked about before, and it's something that we've just done in our management meetings and regular team meetings now, is there's actually a check-in at the start and a check-in at the end. And it's almost gotten to the point because there's multiple people in the team, and you can kind of we use this software called Mural, and it's like an emoji type thing, and you basically there's different emojis, you pick one, you put the star on it, and then you can kind of share why, or what's going on. And I think as well, if you're leading the team or managing the team, perhaps if you can share open and honestly about what's going on, so even if you haven't had a great week, you just be really upfront with it. And we've found that to be really successful in a check-in at the start and the end. It's almost like an assessment on how the meeting's gone as well, to then work out who needs more follow-up and who needs more touch points going forward. So yeah, it's a really interesting one though, isn't it? Because in your head, if you're someone that says, oh, it's all good, and you're always trying to switch yourself into positive mode, really interesting that by doing that, you're probably in some ways not acknowledging all of the feelings that you could be experiencing at the time. So some really cool points there on just maintaining that self check-in as well. I think that's a winner for everyone going forward. Are there any other tips that you think we've missed there, Nat, or are you quite happy with that?
I think I like, if you think about, when you say, like good times ahead, I know that we all missed out on those little things, that really did fill our cup, dare I say, and did create that level of authentic positivity in our life, and that's probably a time where we can say like good times ahead. Well, what is ahead? So if you want to use those kind of statements, fill them with something that's part of you, not just have some empty statements, because that just leads to a false understanding about what positivity is. So positivity is going to mean a few things for different people. So if you're going to say, good vibes only. Well, how am I going to get those good vibes? So it kind of it opens up just to kind of exploring, like, what does that mean for me? Some of those statements, you can personalize them, and you can have that time where you are going to know, good vibes only, ... once I acknowledge all my other emotions, stuff like that. They can have a bit of fun with those if that's something that gets through your day or puts a smile on your face. That's not bad, but it's not about saying as soon as it's not that connection. As soon as I start to feel this, then I need to think this. So you just got to be super careful with what's the purpose of those statements for you. Yeah.
Love it, Nat. Action orientated as always, from you there. Love it. Really good point on just like being careful with your words and making sure you're putting those, if you are using them, and putting some meat on the bones with what you're intending, I guess, from that. That's great. Nat, thanks so much for your time today. I know you're a busy woman, so I'll let you go, and we'll catch up again soon.
Take care, guys. See ya.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.